Welcome to another breakdown video on the channel. Listen, when I first saw this video, because I've already watched the whole thing and it's actually split up into two parts. So the video is actually longer than 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So we're going to break down the whole thing. We have this individual who goes by the name of Prince Dimitri on TikTok. You can see their name right there. And it says, calling out the trans community, my message to women. Now, it's two things that threw me off in this breakdown video, but the message was very well received. And it's something that I and even a few other people have been talking about when it comes to Hall T and their push to try to be or labeled as women. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I saw a tweet that was retweeted on my timeline where this woman, I believe biologically born woman, I could be wrong, I don't know. If she's not, she has a damn good surgeon. But if she is, then she's fighting an uphill battle, and the wrong one at that. Where she was saying trans women are women. And then it goes back to what Mark Lamont Hill said a couple years ago when he said the same thing, and then came out a couple weeks later, well, not weeks later, a couple weeks ago, and said that trans men are men. And I said, okay. This video came right at the right time because I came across this literally maybe an hour or so after I saw that tweet. So I'm going to go ahead and begin the breakdown. Now, the first one is going to come like right almost instantly, and you'll see exactly what I mean.
All right, so y'all not about to like what I got to say, but I'm about to say it. So I'm about to call out the trans community on a lot of bullshit. And I'm not coming to you guys as a female to male trans man. I'm coming to you guys as a biological woman. Because
did you hear that? That's the first part that caught me off guard. This person is a biologically born female. They said they are a female to man trans man. But when you hear them talk and see how they look at glance, you would never know that this person was born a woman or born a female. That means they had a damn good surgeon to rework everything. It makes you wonder how they looked before they transition. Because walking down the street or having a casual conversation with this person, you would never know that this person was born with an XX chromosome. So you heard straight out of this person's mouth that this is a person who's a part of Hall T, who's calling out Hall T. And that's something else that I've been saying for quite some time, that they need to call them out. And what makes it interesting is that it's a person who was born a woman that transitioned into a quote unquote, well, they turn into a trans man because they're not a man. You know what? I'm not even going to spoil it because a lot of the stuff that I could say right now, they're actually going to say and expound on. And it's good that it's coming from somebody who's in that community, who knows from experience, and probably stuff that they have seen and heard that we've never seen and heard.
Because that's what I am at the end of the day. Yep, I said that. First and foremost, the original intent behind the trans community was to illustrate the difference between sex and gender. Your sex being your biological makeup, and your gender being how you would like to be socially regarded in regards to pronouns like he, him, she, her, they, them, and all the other ones in between. But I'm starting to sense a different tone that's actually been happening within the trans community over the course of like maybe the past 3 to 5 years. And that is the hijacking and ultimately the erasure of the woman.
There it is. He said, or they said, that they have been noticing in the last 3 to 5 years that there have been a hijacking from Hall T, mainly the trans woman, that they have been trying to hijack what an actual woman is. And this person is dead on. I want to call this person a he so bad because like I said, if they didn't say who they were, we would have been saying he the whole time. But this individual, and I would say, and the thing is, I don't even want to call them he. I want to call it she, because even in the beginning of the breakdown, they said, I'm a biologically born female. And it sounds like they wouldn't even be upset if someone said or called them she, if they told them that's what they were born as. But let's move past that a little bit. They said that that Hall T via the trans woman has been trying to, or has been hijacking what a real woman is in the last couple of years. And they would be right, because if you see all the stuff that's put out there lately, you saying that trans women are women. You see a lot of trans women who are competing in female sports or sports that's made for biologically born women or females, and they're winning in these competitions and all types of other things like that. That's literally what they're doing. And I've said on my channel so many times when it comes to this topic that they are trying to replace real women. I have been saying that pre-pandemic. But you know, when it comes from someone like myself, they'll say, oh, I'm transphobic and this, that, and the third. But my question is, will they say that about this person? Because they are trans themselves. So what they got to say about that? But trust and believe, they'll find a way. They will find a way and say, oh, it's internalized transphobia or something along those lines to try to make it seem like this person, what they're saying is a bad thing.
And so now I, as a trans man / biological woman, have to come up and come out of my identity and go back to my biology and say, hey, y'all need to goddamn motherfucking stop. Because there's this thing where we want to kind of broaden out what it means to be a woman and say, oh, well, they're birthing persons, or they're people who menstruate, or
listen, when they said that as a man, I didn't like that. And that didn't even pertain to me. I hated when they came up with this term of birthing persons or people who menstruate. Like, that's literally the erasure, and they're going to talk about that, the erasure of a woman and what her capabilities of doing, her biological makeup of, what she's able to internally do that no one else can do. Like, that was just so disrespectful. And I'm a man and I can't do any of those things. Granted, I'm glad I don't have to, but for a woman, I know that should automatically piss her off. That's why it kills me when it's so many biologically born women who advocate for this. I'm like, do you realize what you're doing, consciously or subconsciously? Do you know what you're doing? Now, like I said, this is a person right here who was born a female, who transitions into a man, calling themselves a trans man, but still acknowledges that they are a biological female. Meanwhile, on the other side of the spectrum, you have those who were born biologically male, transition into a trans woman, and now calling themselves a woman. Like, literally, you're shedding your whole internal identity to try to fit the physical outside, physical exterior of yourself. But internally, those chromosomes and that DNA is not changing.
Breastfeeding persons and all this bullshit that I just can't stand with, because at this point we're trying to erase the biology behind what it means to be a woman, and that's not what we're about to do. I'm not about to do it with y'all, and I get it. Y'all want to do it for the sake of inclusion, but no, that's not inclusive. That's called erasure.
Exactly. Like, I'm actually at the point where I'm over that word inclusive. Because that literally has become a dog whistle thing of, we got to include everybody else into people's struggles and plights and everything like that. And then it gets misconstrued and it gets all jumbled up. It literally becomes a multiverse in and of itself. And it's just a big ball of confusion. Inclusion has literally turned into confusion. When you throw all these other little things, all these other little insignificant things into the mix, it's like, where is the clear path at? You can't see a damn thing. It's so foggy. It's so grainy.
That's literally erasing an entire gender and what it means to be that specific gender from a biological standpoint. And I thought that that's the very thing we were trying to separate when it pertains to gender, was the biology. But it appears that we're just trying to erase it. You're trying to erase the biology. And that's what we're not about to do.
That's exactly what they're trying to do. Like, think about when they talk about these artificial wombs. Who do you think they're going to give those to? They don't have to give it to a woman because she already has a womb. Artificial womb, something that's not natural, not real. Who do you think they're going to give that to? I keep telling people, if that artificial womb works and it works on a quote unquote trans woman, I don't know what to say. We are doomed if that happens, because then that'll be one of the final nails in the coffin for them. Well, the icing on the cake with the cherry on top, saying that now they can classify themselves as a woman, they can give birth. But the question is, what will that birthing process be like? Because the only male species I can think of that can give birth is a seahorse, and they can give birth without dying. I don't know any man that can give birth and possibly die on that table. But then again, I don't know any man that can give birth. Now, see, this person was biologically born a female, which means if they wanted to, they pretty much made their decision to go out and get pregnant, they could, because they have a womb. But I don't think that they're going to go out and do that because they've made the decision to want to live life as a man. So that would kind of defeat the purpose. So whoever they end up with who's accepting of their lifestyle, they're going to have to do it the artificial insemination way, aka go to the clinic and do it that way.
So now I have to set aside my identity and go back to my roots to reaffirm women, to let y'all know that we're not about to do that. And the moment I see a trans person trying to do that and say, "Oh, the people who mentioned," nah, we're not about to do it, because we're not doing that to the men. It sounds like misogyny. We don't say men that they're persons who ejaculate. We don't say persons who have boners. We don't.
Yeah, exactly, with that. Now, my one issue that I have with the trans men, and I call this out too with a couple of stories that I've covered on my channel, is when they transition from a female to a man, quote unquote, and then get pregnant and then say that a man can give birth. That's the one issue that I have when it comes from them. Because like I said, a man cannot give birth. If you got pregnant and you're carrying a child and you push a child out of your womb or get a C-section or whatever, you are biologically a female, because a biological male does not have the inner workings to give birth, let alone carry a child. That's my one gripe when it comes from the trans man. But those other issues, that's mainly coming from the trans woman. That's why I said more women need to speak up and call out, and not only just call that out, but call out their advocates who keep saying that trans women are women when they're not. Because all the women I know do not have to put a label in front of them being a woman. They're just a woman. Now they can go out and say they're a black woman, that they're acknowledging their race, but that's not anything indicative on their biological makeup as a woman. They know that they're still biologically, they're a woman. They're just acknowledging that they're a black woman or a white woman or a south of the Borderian woman or an Indian woman or a Native American woman or an Asian woman. But when you put that label of trans on there, now it's something else. It's not a woman though. Now, this was the first part right here, but there's a little bit more. I'm going to pause it, and we're going to get into that one.
Do that. But why are we doing that to the women? Why? Oh, misogyny, okay. And this is primarily why the world does not take...
And let me go back a little bit, because I didn't catch that. But notice he mentioned that they mentioned misogyny. It's a reason why they did that.
But why are we doing that to the women? Why? No, misogyny, okay.
He said, why are we doing that to the women? Misogyny. And that's something a lot of them like to throw out there, but the way that they did it was actually clever. Because remember, these are biologically born men who now transition into a quote unquote woman, trans woman, and now they're stepping into women's spaces trying to take it over. It seems real colonizing, like a real colonizer. And then when they throw in the misogyny part, this is actually when the word misogyny would actually kick into gear, and not the way that the feminists love to use it. Basically, in this instance of you having a man who's stepping into a woman's space and then claiming to be a woman and still being able to dominate that area because you are a man. So that's where the misogyny that word actually works, and not the artificial dog whistle language that they've been trying to use it as over the years to try to attack men with. But this one is actually where it would definitely apply. Look at Leah Thomas, for example. Born a man, lived their whole life as a man, competed against men in swimming, could not really compete that well, lost, fell short many times, then went in quote unquote transition and then competed against the women and was winning all types of medals and awards and championships against biologically born women. I did another one on an individual who used to be in the military, had a family and everything, quote unquote, transition and started competing against girls in skateboarding competitions and wins. That's where you would say the misogyny kicks in, because now you're using your biological makeup as a man to compete against women because you couldn't cut it as a man and compete against them. So in order for you to win, you have to do something like that.
And this is primarily why the world does not take our community serious. Because we do shit like this. We do shit that literally does not make sense and does not even remotely align with what we were originally trying to do. And so that's why I'm like, nah, I don't associate with that. So if you don't like my message, I don't even care. Because you're proving the world right about our fucking community.
And that's the whole video right there. So kudos to this individual for actually calling out what needed to be called out in the way that they did it. I would say more would definitely need to come out and speak up about this, because it has gotten out of hand. It's literally spiraled out of control. It really, really has. And they're right. This is exactly why no one takes their plight seriously, because they said in essence, in its origins, that's not what they were that's not what they were out there to do. But the thing is, when you give someone enough, leeway, they're going to take it and they're going to keep going and going and going to see how much further they can go. And then it doesn't help when you have some government officials that help back that up or bend the knee to whatever it is whatever wild demands they want. Because guess what? Once you give them so much and they're going to want more, then that's when they infringe on stuff that they shouldn't be. Like, think about in San Francisco when that mayor out there, she said, we'll give an extra $1,200 a month to those who are in Hall T. And I'm like, for what? Like, why are you giving them money? Just to give the money? And they said for the next 18 months. And it's like, that's literally enabling that. Because guess what? It's $1,200 a month today. Tomorrow is going to be $2,400. You keep enabling this so you don't get labeled as this and that phobic. F that. Because now you are being bullied, but moreover, you're allowing yourself to be bullied by those in that community who keep pushing a narrative. This is what we mean also when we keep saying that there's an agenda. But people want to act like they're stupid and don't know what the hell we're talking about. They know what we're talking about, but they want to sit there and look like they got the screw face like Tucker Carlson does every day on his platform when he's listening to something he knows what they're talking about, but wants to sit up there and act like he's dumb. But yeah, I'm glad this person said what they said. Again, more need to speak out, and the women out there, stop rallying behind this. Because again, like the person said in this video, they are trying to erase you. I've been saying this for so long now. They are trying to take your spot. That's why whenever they say, oh, a trans man, that this person got a man can get pregnant, we're like, no, that's not a man. If the person got pregnant, that is a woman. Period. Point blank, period. That's all it is. Don't try to switch it up for whatever reason it is. No, it is a woman who got pregnant, who lives as a man. And what I ended up doing is just to get some reassurance to see if this was a one-off type video, like this just a one video that they put out there, I guess, to garner views, and then they would say something completely off the rails. I decided to go to their TikTok page, and shocked to my surprise, this is not a one-off video that this person has ever done. I actually sat there and looked through some of the other stuff that they were saying, and they were sitting up there calling out other people who are in that community, specifically those who are Hall T, who've been saying some of the same things I've been saying. When I say Hall T, I'm talking about the trans woman, who've been saying some of the same things I and others have been saying over the years when it comes to that portion or that sector of that community. I'm gonna put it like this: with the way that this person talks, if they went mainstream, they would be like another Flame Monroe. Now, Flame Monroe is a person who dresses up in drag, I believe they have a child or maybe a couple of children, and they are biologically born a man, but they call out Hall T, the trans woman, anyway, often, and they don't like that. So I have the biggest feeling that if this person right here actually went mainstream, they would be like another Flame Monroe, in which they are not going to receive their message well either, because they're calling out the hypocrisies and the narratives that they're trying to spin and put out there. But I just put that up there just in case you wanted to go to their page and see the other stuff that they've been calling other people out. Like, I literally spent like the last maybe couple of minutes just looking at some of the stuff that they were saying in response to people that had something to say about the video that I just talked about, and plus other videos before that, and they was hitting them at every single corner. Just wanted to throw that out there.